Well, actually, I never had the courage to ask my spiritual master what that means. But I did ask a very respectable personality in our movement, someone whom I very much admire and take a lot of inspiration from, His Holiness Mahanidhi Swami. So I met him at Radha Kund, and he had just written a book. This was about 10 years ago, and he presented me that book as his love, an expression of his love. And I asked him, Maharaj, what do you think is the import to my name, the name that was given to me by my spiritual master? So he said, it is the name of Srimati Radharani. And you are the servant of Srimati Radharani. And I was, as far as, somebody said that I have some kind of philosophical understanding, all of that failed to understand as to how this was connected to Srimati Radharani. And he said, of the two mothers, Yashoda and Rohini Devi, Yashoda is not a really good cook. Rohini Devi is an exceptional cook. And she is the one who always makes preparations for Krishna and Balaram. And Radharani is always serving with Rohini Devi, and because Radharani has got the quality of cooking exceptionally well, so she is very dear to Mother Rohini. So no one is more dear to Mother Rohini than Radharani. So therefore Rohini Priya Das means the servant of Radharani. So that is the only explanation I've ever heard about the meaning of Rohini Priya Das. Rohini Priya, one who is very dear to Mother Rohini. I kind of liked it. And therefore, I'm never going to ask anyone else what is the meaning of this. I like this meaning a lot. But anyways, we are all, as Srila Prabhupada said, Das or servant. So hopefully one day, by the blessings of all the devotees, this name would come true. So whatever services we are able to render, the servant of one who is very dear to Mother Rohini. So thank you very much for coming for this home program. As I said, as already has been said, that we are grateful to our hosts. Today I would like to introduce our hosts in a special way, in a different way. So today's program is being organized by the parents of Pulkit. And it was my great fortune to be able to spend time with Pulkit on the way from Edmonton to Calgary. We had the entire car to ourselves at a stretch of almost 260 kilometers. And we discussed everything except Krishna. Because what can we discuss about Krishna? Krishna he's so great. So we decided to discuss about Krishna consciousness. That was a very practical discussion. So, Pulkit, Haribol. So we are very thankful to Pulkit's parents and also Pulkit for welcoming all of us. It's not very easy to welcome somebody to your home. Generally, you open up your house to those who are very dear or whom you trust a lot. So all of you are trusted people.
We are thankful that you
thankful
to come to visit.
Thank you so much. So that is the Akashvani. Voice from the sky. And generally, the voice from the sky is always very prophetic. Thank you very much. And especially, once again, I would like to thank all the senior devotees of our wonderful congregation here. Shri Radha Madhav, Srinathji, Gauranitai, and all the devotees who are serving them. Especially Baladev Prabhu. And Mother Kalindi. And all the other devotees. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarini Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So all of my talks, I have been introducing this specific problem that I have. And I think I did mention it the last time I was here at the temple too. The problem is that I have this OCD. You know what is an OCD? It's a disorder. Compulsive disorder. An obsessive compulsive disorder. And my OCD is that till everyone responds loudly by saying Hare Krishna, I keep on repeating myself. Yes? Would you like to have that disorder too? So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, now it's cured. Recently, I read an article and it got me thinking about how most of us, we have particular nuances to our personality, our behavior. And sometimes we realize that it has that particular quality has landed us in embarrassing situations or maybe problematic situations. So I will explain something that happened with me when I was in Toronto. We drove in to the parking lot, and we were parking on the parking space that was there on the roadside, the curb side. And somehow, and we had to go to the temple. This was for the evening program, the Sunday feast program at the Toronto temple. Something happened because of which the owner of the car left the car with me and also the car keys. And I was the only one there with the car, and I was supposed to come back to the temple or come to the temple. Reassured that the car was secure, all the doors were locked. You know, I spend a lot of time in India still. And India, for those of you who are not aware of how we try and secure our doors, the car doors, is by pulling on the door from outside. The car handle, the door handle that's there, you pull on it, and if it does not open up, it's like, okay, it's locked. And since there are 4 doors, you have to go it all the way around. For those of us who are from India, who had this, is that what happens?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was with this car, and I like these new car keys where you go beep and the doors get locked. You kind of press on that smart key. So I did that, and I got out of the car. I did not go a long distance away, like just stepped 1 feet away, and I went click. And then I went to check on the doors. So I put my hand on the door, the front side passenger door, that was where I was. It opened up. So I did what we do in India. I went inside to the lock that's there. I kind of put it in the lock position and I slammed the door shut. Have you worked things like that in India? Kind of, okay, the door's closed now, isn't it? Because that's what automatic locks are for. At least that's what I thought. It's true. And just to be reassured, I again clicked on it, lock. There's lock and unlock sign. So I pressed on the lock sign. So yeah, it's locked. Because I have this particular nuance in my personality, so I reach out for the door handle again. I pull on it. It is locked. It is locked. I'm happy that the owner left the car in my possession, and so I've done it. So I walk away from the car, but then there's something that is niggling. There's some niggling thought at the back of my mind. So I go to the other doors now. Kind of reassure myself that all the doors are in the locked position. So as soon as I put my hand on the door handle of the next door, it opens up. Now, I am a little concerned at this point of time. So now, since what I did previously worked, I thought it worked. Like put the lock in the lock position from inside, slam the door shut. So that's what I did. And I tested it again, and do you know what happened? It was locked. So I'm like, yeah, I'm from India, you cannot cheat me. We know all the tricks. But then, I have to go and test the other doors too. So I go to the door on the other side, pull the handle, and the door opens up. Now this happens many a times. Finally, I put all the doors in the lock position and slammed them shut. And to reassure myself, now this happened for at least 10 minutes. Please believe me. This is what I was doing. I was going parikrama. Anti-parikrama too. And I was getting a little concerned, you know. So finally I gave it up because every time I would kind of test it on one door, it would be locked, and then I would go to the other door, it would be unlocked. So finally what I did was, I used my strategy from India, slammed all the doors shut. To reassure myself, I clicked on the lock thingy there, on the smart key, and I went off to the temple to tell the devotee that you please go back to your car and secure it. I did not find the devotee and I had to go and give the lecture, so I prayed to Krishna. You know, sometimes when you pray to Krishna, when you know that nothing else works. I delivered my lecture. Everyone was kind of happy that the lecture ended. And then I looked around at the audience. I found my devotee there, the one who had driven me to the temple in his car. And they kind of indicated to him that it's urgent. He said, yes, yes, Prabhu. And then suddenly he was lost in the crowd. So finally, after half an hour, another half an hour, we found each other, and then it was time to leave. Go back to the place where I was staying. And I'm kind of mentioning to him that, you know, this is what happened. And he said, all right, Prabhu, we'll just go and see what's, you know, whether the car is there or not. The car was still there. And to my surprise, and also to my relief, when he kind of pulled on the door, it was locked. Now, I was not there. I was a little petrified, so I was a few steps behind him. So it was still locked. And then I catch up with him, and he says, Prabhu, this is locked. So I said, really? And to reassure myself, I put my hand on the handle to the door, and I pulled on it, and it opened up. So I did not say anything. He did not say anything. He just asked for the car keys. That evening, I had a restless night. I did not sleep well that night. The next morning, there was this burden on my consciousness that I had to... Is this okay? This works?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I wanted to say sorry. And I explained the events of the previous evening. And he says, Prabhu, you have a smart key. I said, all right. So I know that, you know, it's kind of a remote key, you could use it to lock and unlock the door. He says, no. There's another feature to this key. If you are within a particular radius of the car, the key recognizes the car and locks the car so that, you know, it's easier for you, unlocks the car. And I'm like, oh, now I get it. It's some kind of locking the car, and then I'm right there. So the car again recognizes, or the key recognizes the car and unlocks it. Now till today, I'm still scared of using the smart key. It's not that I don't trust in it, it's just that I spent a lot of time in India. And unless until you check, double check and triple check something, you're not sure that it is secure. You like that story? What is Krishna conscious about it? Well, right now, maybe I may not be able to actually present to you what the principle is that I want to explain to this particular personal experience that I narrated. But there are many traits that we have. If we are not careful about it, then many a times they land us into situations where there's waste of time or our energy is like wasted. We are confused. It's nothing to do with the process. It's nothing to do with who we are. It has to do with what habits we have cultivated. Yes? Someone has said, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Heard that before? Someone's heard that before? Good, I thought I made it up. So I'm thankful that somebody has heard that before. So I did not make it up, although I would like to say that. It's quite catchy, isn't it? Sowing something, reaping something, sowing something, reaping something. If you use words like habit, character, destiny, people are really interested. But it's true. So repeated action makes you adopt a habit. Now do you realize why every day we chant Hare Krishna repeatedly? Because when you cultivate that habit, then we develop a character. And that character, when properly developed, determines our destiny. Still, there are traits to our personality that are not ready to change. And we find excuses for them. How do we find excuses for them? How do we try and justify them? Not many of us inquire about that. We are so passionate about trying to be Krishna conscious that we are adding more and more services or activities. At the same time, we are not noticing that certain traits need to be changed. There are certain nuances to a personality that need to be transformed. To explain in very simple terms, let me give you another example. There is this man that has to walk for a certain distance to get to his office. So he takes a sidewalk every single day. And typically, as he is walking towards his office, at a certain point, there is a banana peel on the sidewalk. And this gentleman steps on the banana peel every single day, slips, falls, and it's painful. Every single day. Don't ask me how. This is just a story. Okay? It's supposed to be a funny one. So every single day is like, all right, here I go to my office, here I go to my office, there is the banana peel, I'm going to slip and fall. So that's how it happens every single day. Now, after a couple of weeks into our story, The man is on the sidewalk. Here I'm going to the office. Here I go to my office. There is no banana peel. Oops. There is no banana peel that particular morning. That particular morning, he does not slip, he does not fall, he has no painful experience at all. He likes it. So happy. The next morning, he wakes up. He walks down the sidewalk. Here I go to the office, here I go to the office. There is no banana peel. I won't slip and fall. No banana peel. It does not fall. Here's another good day. Painless. Next morning, as he's walking down the sidewalk, here I go to the office, here I go to the office. There is a banana peel. Slip, fall, pain. You know, when he looks at the banana peel, what are the thoughts that are going through his mind? He's thinking, today once again, I'm going to slip and fall. Typically, this is the experience of many individuals in this world, us included. Because there are certain traits that we have that are so difficult to change. And although we know that there should be a change, although we realize that why should I step on the banana peel at all? Because somehow we are not able to do anything about it. Yes? So, Hare Krishna. How many of the devotees here have heard of the Upanishads? Please raise your hands. The Upanishads. How many have never heard about the Upanishads? Please raise your hands. So how many were lazy enough to raise their hands? So everyone's heard about the Upanishads, right? So a word of message of wisdom from the Upanishads. Okay? The Kathopanishad states, Atmanam rathinam vidhi shariram rathamevacha buddhim tu sarathim vidhi manah pragraham evacha indriyani hayani ahur vishayansteshu gocharam atmendriya mano buddhi bhoktityahur manishinaha. So everyone understood, right? What is the import of those two verses? Everyone understood it, right? Well, we know the Upanishad, isn't it? Maybe not. And that is very interesting about the Upanishads. They sometimes speak in a very foreign tongue. It's called Sanskrit. It's called Sanskrit in the West. It's called Sanskrit in India. And it's got a very simple meaning. These two verses have a very simple message. Before we understand the message, a question for all the members of the audience. How many of us think that we are intelligent? Can we have the camera? So you are on camera now. And it is live, or it's been recorded, and it is going to be uploaded somewhere. Now, please think carefully. How many of us here in the audience think that we are intelligent? Please raise up your hands. Yes, good. There's one. The rest, are you sure? This is the answer that you want everybody to know. Okay, how many of us think that we are unintelligent? Please raise up your hands. The camera. You're on camera. Oops. Okay, let me explain this a little more. Today evening we had a choice. It's a beautiful evening. Maybe one of those few evenings before fall sets in. What are we doing here? Is it an intelligent decision? Is this an intelligent decision or not? Yes. A few of us are still wondering. मौका दिया तो अभी निकल जाएंगे. बस खाना सर्व कर दो. नहीं? So, do you think it is an intelligent decision to be here? Yes. Everyone feels like that? Yes. So, how many of us feel that we are intelligent? Please raise up your hands.
Now, a lot of people.
No, really? Okay, I can again explain this. How many of us still feel that we are not intelligent? Okay, alright. So, everyone agrees we are intelligent? Yes. We have some kind of intelligence, right? We may not be super intelligent. Alright, I never said who's super intelligent here. I just said that we are intelligent. Isn't it? We are intelligent beings. Correct? Okay. Now let us see what the Upanishads speak about who is an intelligent person. We think we are intelligent, right? So the Upanishad, and that is the import of this verse, these two verses. Bhoktete ahur manishinaha. Manishinaha means an intelligent person. An intelligent person realizes that every single moment, ahu means every single moment of our life. Bhokteti, one is interacting with, or one has certain things at our disposal which one uses to receive benefits in our life. Bhokta is to enjoy, but here it also means benefits, to have something good happen to us. You know, everyone wants a good thing to happen to oneself. So what resources do we have at our disposal to be able to do that? Atma Indriya Manobuddhi. The self, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. We have these resources. And we must use these resources because it says, the verse says, Atma Indriya Manobuddhi Bhoktitya Ahur Manishina. Ahu, every moment. Every moment we must use all these four to be able to get benefit, receive benefits in our life. So what are these four? Atmanam Prathinam Vidhi. The self is the passenger. Okay? So obviously it means there must be a vehicle. So Shariram Prathamevacha. The vehicle is the body. But believe it or not, we are all really rich people. You know how? All of us have a chauffeur. We don't drive this vehicle. Every single living being has a chauffeur. We have a chauffeur-driven vehicle at our disposal. Who's the chauffeur for this vehicle, the body? Oh, the intelligence. Buddhim to sarathim. Buddhi is the sarathi or the driver. And manah pragraham evacha. And manah, the mind, is that which allows the driver to be connected to the senses. Okay? A chariot. Any idea what a chariot is? Anyone has seen a chariot function, a functioning chariot? Please. You've seen a chariot? Have you ridden? Is that a good word? Have you ever had a chariot ride? Yes? You've been on a chariot before? How many have been on a chariot? A moving chariot? Others haven't. Therefore, let me give you a more contemporary example. Okay? The self is the passenger. The vehicle is the car. Your car is the vehicle. The body is a car. The intelligence is your driver. The mind is the steering. And the senses are the wheels. Now, generally, all the wheels should function in tandem together, isn't it? But are there instances where they can function independently?
Yes.
Yes? When? Not a crash. Four wheels would be able to function independently. Would there be a situation like that where the four wheels can function independently?
When you're taking a turn.
A turn, they should function independently? No, they should still function in tandem. Have you heard of a four-wheel drive?
Yes.
What does it mean? What is it for? There are uneven surfaces. So one wheel may have to work at a particular angle than the other wheel. Now let's say all the wheels work at the same angle. Then on uneven surfaces, it may not be so easy to drive. Like down a slope, a mountain side. So then you are given a four-wheel drive. A four-wheel drive is where the wheels may work at different angles. Yes? So they kind of function independently. And that functionality has been given to the vehicle for certain particular instances only. So for that moment, the steering wheel works such that the four wheels have independence. And once you have negotiated that particular stretch of your journey, you have to bring back the vehicle to two-wheel drive. Otherwise, the vehicle will not move. So if you consider the steering wheel to be the mind, then the mind always has to see that the senses work. The wheels are the senses. They work in tandem. They are under control. Because if the senses go on a four-wheel drive motion, the vehicle is not going to really take you on a good journey. Yes? Krishna says the horses are, or the Kathopanishad says the horses are running in different directions. When would that happen? When would the wheels function independently? When the steering has lost control over the wheels, especially when it is in a four-wheel drive situation and the steering kind of breaks. It could be very dangerous. So when the mind is not in control of the senses, it's a very dangerous situation. Hence, the mind always has to be very strong and healthy. But the steering moves in whichever way the hands that are on the steering make it move. If the hands on the steering are not in control of the steering, then the steering will move as the surface, the vibrations from the surface on which the wheels are running over, that make it move. You know, sometimes when you are over on a bump and you lose your grip over the steering, for those of you who drive, does the steering stay stationary or is it wobbly? Yes? So if the hands are not gripping the steering firmly, the steering is moving, but it moves according to the vibrations that come from the wheels. So if the intelligence, which are the hands of the driver that are holding onto the steering, is not gripping the mind strongly, properly, when the mind is only getting inputs from the senses. And that is all the mind accepts. Therefore, the mind has to always receive inputs from the intelligence that is holding on to the steering. And even if the journey is wobbly, even if the journey is rough, the surface is rough, if you have firm grip over the steering wheel, you will be able to overcome the effects of that bumpy surface. Even if there are bumps, you'll be able to overcome the effects of it. Alright? But the driver is not the person who decides in which direction the car should go or what is the destination. Let's suppose you sit in a car and tell a cab, a taxi, and you tell the taxi driver, take me on a ride. At one point of time, the taxi driver does turn around to you and says, sir, where do you want me to go? Like we've been going on this ring road for quite some time. Is there a destination? No, I'm so sad or I'm in depression. Just take me on a long ride. The taxi driver is wondering, hey, but I have a house to go to. I would like to have that fare. But I have a destination in life. I cannot be with you always. So it is up to the passenger to decide how the driver is going to function. So now the self has to be focused enough. The self is the one that knows what is the destination. And if all of these are functioning together, the self with the purpose, the intelligence which is gripping onto the mind which is strong and healthy, and the senses are connected to the mind and working in tandem, working with the mind. Then, every single moment, one will receive the benefits of one's activity. But if any of these four components are not carrying out their functions perfectly, the driver has a loose grip over the steering. If the steering is cracked or broken, if the wheels are not functioning properly, or if the passenger does not have a destination, it's a waste of time, energy, and sometimes it could be a disaster. Therefore, the Kathopanishad says, an intelligent being. So again, since we are intelligent beings, what are we supposed to do? We all agree we are intelligent beings, right? Did we or did we not?
Yes.
Everyone agree that we are intelligent?
Yes.
Now? Oh, you joined us late. So that's all right. We did agree, right? Yeah, we agree. Finally, it's I who decide what we agreed on. So we did agree that we are intelligent beings, and now since we've understood what the Kathopanishad says about intelligent beings, intelligent people, it is not, the Upanishad is not stating that we just kind of have this aim in our life. It is not stating that we kind of have this as a goal of life. The Upanishad is making it very clear, this is how we should function every moment of our life. Moment to moment, this is how we function in our life. Is that all right? Okay. So I have, do you think I've become a little atypical this time? Kind of. So I thought maybe this time I'll just kind of introduce myself as a serious person also. Yeah? Just a little philosophy. A little bit. That bit of philosophy is the Kathopanishad. Because today's presentation and tomorrow in the evening that I'm going to be speaking at the temple, the presentation that I'm going to present at the temple tomorrow evening, they are based on how does one work with one's mind? And it's a very hot topic always, the mind, like everyone likes to hear about something about the mind. The mind this, the mind that, mind your business. So, how do we work with our mind? Will you be okay with that?
Yes.
Thank you. We did not have many other options. At least not right now. So, why is the mind so important? Very simple. The Amrit Bindu Upanishad says, Manayeva Manushyana Karanam Bandham Moksha. The mind is the very cause of bondage, or the mind is the very cause of liberation. And hence in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says that one must use one's mind to elevate one's consciousness, and one must see that the mind does not result in the degradation of one's consciousness. Uddharet atman atmanam na atmanam avasadet atmeva hi tandhur atmeva ripur atmanam. Mind could be our friend or could be our enemy. When we use the mind to elevate our consciousness, the mind becomes our friend. Mind has only two options, to be our friend or to be our enemy. And when we are not able to do that, when we are not able to elevate our consciousness using our mind, then the mind naturally becomes our enemy, and being our enemy now, the mind degrades our consciousness. It causes degradation of our consciousness. So we know everything, but somehow we cannot prevent ourselves from prevent our consciousness from getting degraded. So again, the Upanishad says ahu. Ahu means every moment, moment to moment. So now let me tell you a story. Yes? But what should we do with our mind? This story is from the Vayu Puran. This story has been narrated by a very, very exemplary and exalted spiritual personality of the name Shandilya Rishi. Shandilya Rishi has a simple yet very sublime message for all of us. He says, whenever the mind is not, whenever we are not engaged in active spiritual services, it is very important to associate the mind with auspicious thoughts. Because if the mind is associated with auspiciousness, we will achieve our desired results. We will achieve our desired goal. And then he again makes the same point, for the mind is the very cause of bondage or liberation. And then he says, if in such a situation the mind associates with inauspicious thoughts, ashubha, then we gain nothing. He's being very practical. He says, activities are going to be performed, but there are certain activities that give you profit and certain activities that give you loss. And we don't want losses, right? We want profits. So Shandilya Rishi is saying, whenever the mind is associated with auspicious thoughts. Now, when you are in active spiritual services, it kind of becomes easier to associate the mind with auspicious thoughts. Yes? True? So on our way from Edmonton to Calgary, we were having this discussion. Now, when you are on a trip, especially a trip that has to do with an experience of staying with devotees and having a spiritual program for so many days, one of the aspects of those trips are where one of the aspects every devotee on this trip has to go through is when you have to clean the washrooms. Right, Pulkit? Clean the washrooms. And, well, for most of the youngsters here, cleaning the washroom generally means replacing it with a new one. Like it's no longer usable, all right, go and buy. But then when you're on a trip like this, you're on a spiritual trip with devotees, staying with them for a few days, you do not have many options. You're like, this is Prabhu. Mandir Marjanam and Hridaya Marjanam. Cleansing the temple of the Lord, cleaning the temple of the Lord, and cleaning your heart, your consciousness. So there you're cleaning, you're scrubbing, kind of in the beginning it's a little unenjoyable. It never becomes enjoyable. But over a period of time, you kind of start having auspicious thoughts. Isn't it? You are making a garland. In the beginning it's like bharte jao, bharte jao, bharte jao. Kind of put the flowers onto the needle and pull the needle out. And a couple of moments into that, the mind starts having auspicious thoughts. Oh, Radha Madhava are going to have this garland. You arrange the altar. In the beginning, jaldi karo, jaldi karo. After some time, my dear Lord, please take your residence here. You kind of, isn't it? Your mind. So whenever active spiritual duties are there, the mind kind of associates with auspicious thoughts. So Chandali Rishi is explaining that there could be certain moments in our life, more often than you actually realize, where there are no active spiritual services. For example, you're in the plane. It's like a long distance flight. And the plane is equipped with those monitors in front of you that kind of have displays on them. And there are various functions that you can access. Music, videos, news. Now, some of those who are really very conservative Hare Krishna devotees, they kind of leave it blank. But although that may be blank, beads are not with you, and it's a long flight, and maybe you kind of doze off, and you're in that zone between sleep and wakefulness, and your eyes are wandering all over, and suddenly the eyes become fixated on this monitor, the screen that is in front of the passenger next to you. Has that ever happened? And although your screen is blank and dark, your eyes could be somewhere else. And sometimes you get so involved. Have you ever noticed this happen? That the person who's actually watching it is not really liking it and goes fast forward, and you're like, why? Why did you do that? And I was watching it. And then the screen in front of you goes on. Yeah? So you decide whether that's auspicious or inauspicious. But since there's no active spiritual services going on, the mind associates with something. Think about being caught up in traffic. Construction. There's one lane working. What do? Do you take out a bead bag? Or you notice other people? Or you kind of scream at the person in front of you, or you're thinking of all those words that go in the bubble that are basically hash, screams, question marks, like that, slashes, those bubbles. What does your mind do? There are many moments like that. The checkout counter at the mall, there's a line there. What do?
Just
That's right.
And do what? Observe who's doing what is happening where, or do we always have earphones and we are listening to Kirtan? So there are going to be moments that Chandali Rishi is very clearly indicating that the mind needs to be associated with something that will be beneficial, called as auspicious thoughts. Why does one need auspicious thoughts? Because if the mind is associated with auspicious thoughts, what happens? What happens?
We are benefited.
Good morning, everyone. If the mind is associated with auspicious thoughts, then one achieves one's desired goal or result. If the mind is associated with inauspicious thoughts, one gains nothing. Traffic? You're in the traffic? Caught up? What does one gain? Looking around, kind of cursing, whatever is happening there. Does one gain anything? One gains nothing, although an activity is being carried out. Okay? So Chandali Rishi, after he says that, he narrates a story. He says, a long, long ago, in a town called as Nandivar, lived a very saintly personality. His name is Sushila. Sushila has two sons. The eldest is called Suvritta, and the younger one is called Vritta. He has raised up his sons according to the principles that he knew were the best from the scriptures. So very good impressions he has offered to his sons in the form of sanskaras, or he's given them opportunity to really grow into very decent young gentlemen. So as young men, they were really nice people, really very nice people. However, as Providence would have it, as is the nature of things, their father died of old age. So the sons, in honor of their father, they decided to go on a pilgrimage. They decided to go to the holy place called as Priya. You've heard of Priya? Why have you heard of Priya? What is it that you know about Priya?
People go there.
Triveni Sangam. Triveni Sangam. Have you heard about how beneficial it is to take bath in a holy river? What happens when you take your bath in a holy river? बाहर रहो, जितना गंदा करना है आओ नदी में, है ना? रहती नदी में पूरा पाप धोड़ा लो, फिर बाहर निकलो, अगले ट्रिप के लिए तैयारी करो. ऐसे नहीं करना है ना, नहीं करना है. अच्छे बच्चे ऐसे नहीं करते. Yeah, so holy river is supposed to benefit you. She, as a loving mother, accepts all our shortcomings and relieves us of the burden of those shortcomings. Isn't it?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That is an indication that I have to get into something humorous right now. So, holy river, right? Now imagine if you were to, how many of you all have, sorry, before the imagination, how many of you all have, you all believe that actually this happens? That actually when you take your bath in a holy river, you bathe in a holy river, you actually are cleansed. How many of us do believe that? Please raise up your hands. How many of us don't believe in that? That it actually does cleanse? You don't? Please start believing. It's helpful, to believe that actually if somebody could help us get relieved of certain burdens, it's nice. Isn't it? It's a different kind of counseling, basically. This is how a holy river counsels us. Alright? No more sinning from now. And whatever has been done in the past, chalo, forgiven. Aage jao. Yeah? If that is the understanding, then it's worth taking a bath in a holy river. If the understanding is that whatever we do, ultimately just take a bath and it will be so cool maaf. Like just wash your sins and come back and become all the more sinful. That's not really healthy. Yes? So holy river, like a mother, a loving mother, she relieves us of our burden. Now imagine if one holy river can do that, what would happen if you take your bath in two holy rivers? पहले नदी से कुछ बचा कुचा रहेगा तो दूसरे नदी में निकल जाएगा. Isn't it? Supposing someone tells you that if you take Charanamrit, it guarantees you love of Krishna. Would you be satisfied with just one drop of Charanamrit or would you take another drop? Just one drop? Krishna praying? Or would you want to have another drop of it? Why not? मिल रहा है फ्री में तो दे दो. True? So there are two holy rivers right next to each other, like भाई भाई हाथ कंधे को डाल के जा रहे हैं, flowing right next to each other. Wouldn't it be normal to take bath in one river and then kind of take bath in the other river? Like when you go to Vrindavan and Shyama Kund and Radha Kund, like ठीक है श्यामा कुंड में भी ले लो बात, राधा कुंड में भी ले लो बात, और जस्ट राधा कुंड में लेकर खुश हैं, है ना? Right? Now what if we get an opportunity to take bath in three holy rivers? Why not? What if all of them, all the three rivers come together and for our benefit, there's a confluence of the three rivers. Now you realize why this Triveni is so very attractive? 3 in 1. एक बार जाओ, 3 का फायदा हो. Go once and get the benefit of bathing in 3 holy rivers. But Prayag is essentially also well known in the scriptures because any activities, any sacrifices, any charity that you do in Prayag, you get immense benefits. Prayag means immensely beneficial. Whatever sacrifices you do are immensely beneficial, especially in Prayag, present day Allahabad, in India. So they decided to take this holy pilgrimage to Prayag. Who decided? The 2 brothers. In honor of their father, whose name is Shushila, and the brothers, their names are Suvritta and Vritta. Essentially, these are very allegorical stories, so each of the names will have significance attached to it. Vritta means intention, Suvritta means very good intentions. Vritta also means good intentions, Suvritta means very good intentions. So basically, it is kind of indicating that these children are really good, or these young men are really very good. They have a lot of good qualities in them, okay? So Suvritta and Vritta, they are on the pilgrimage to Prayag. In those days, pilgrimage, people when they would go to pilgrimage, they did not have the modern means of transport, so they would walk. It would be a journey on foot. Yes? So it would take them some time. So they did make this journey, and they were only half a day away from Prayag. And remember, this is a story from the Purana, so expect the unexpected any moment. Okay? There will be abrupt things happening in the story. So they're on the way to Prayag. They're like a half a day's journey from Prayag, and they're very excited. Oh, finally we are going to be there, and we will be seeing these holy rivers, and we would be at the confluence. And especially they were excited to visit the temple of Lord Madhava that was there, Veni Madhava, Krishna's temple right there on the banks. At the conference rather. So they're very excited, and because it is a Puranic story, suddenly a thunderstorm, or let's say category 5 hurricane comes in. All of a sudden. So there are thundering clouds, incessant rain, really heavy raindrops, rains falling. Winds blowing fiercely. The two brothers are completely drenched. They were not prepared for this. It's dark all of a sudden, and the rain is falling so thick that they cannot see beyond an arm's length. They have no idea in which direction they should be heading. Now, when you're drenched in a rainstorm, you kind of really become very irritated. Because it's all soggy, your clothes are hanging on your body, it's dripping, your hair is wet, you're not able to see anything because the rain is falling directly into your face. But the brothers were really soldiering on, like, no, we have to get to Priya. And especially today. Today is a special day. It is the appearance day of Lord Krishna. It is Janmashtami. If we reach the temple of the Lord, it will be such a wonderful festive moment there. Let's do it. So they went on. The weather wasn't really helping them. So at one point of time, the elder brother Suvrata, he kind of gives up. His strength fails him. He no longer has the energy to go on in this difficult weather. So he says, he looks around for some kind of shelter. There's this building. He tells Vritta, his brother, his younger brother, let us take shelter in this building. And once the storm has passed on, we will continue on to the temple of Lord Madhava. Vritta, he is very, very anxious to get to the temple of Lord Madhava. So he tries to convince his brother Suvritta, he convinces his elder brother Suvritta that let us go on. I mean, it's just a couple of hours away, the conference. And look at this building. One cannot enter this building. Forget it. This is really unholy. It is really inauspicious. And Suvritta noticed the building and he realized that yes, any person of good taste would not take shelter of that building because that building was a brothel. But then, his determination to go on to Prayag, or because there was no other shelter within sight, it kind of made him very weak. And he decided to go into that building. Vritta, he said that, no, I'm not going to do this. And he went on. And Chandali Rishi says that Vritta reached the temple of Lord Madhava. Oh, the temple is decorated with flowers and there's this festive mood in the temple. Hundreds of devotees have gathered at the temple. And they're all very excited and animated. They're smiling. They have different colorful dresses on. Children are running here and there. Elders are interacting with each other. Towards one end of the temple are the beautiful deities of Lord Krishna, and there are so many rituals that have been performed to the deity. In another corner, there is Krishna Katha going on. There's the narration of Krishna's pastimes, his appearance being heard by an audience, and the speaker is beautifully explaining the pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam. In another corner, devotees are in front of the altar and they're chanting Hare Krishna. There are devotees who are doing kirtan, and when Vritta comes into the temple hall and he sees all these devotees and he sees the temple, the deities, he kind of makes his way through the crowd. And then he offers his obeisances to the deities. He bows down his head and touches the floor in front of the deities. And now, since he has reached his destination, the wetness of his existence, his clothes are drenched, they are still dripping water. His hair is splashed all over his face, it is wet. His face is cold. His hands and feet are cold. He is shivering. At that moment, as he's offering his obeisances to the deities, he is thinking, my brother Suvritta must be so comfortable right now. He must be in front of the fireplace. The people there must have given him a fresh set of clothes, dry clothes. Maybe they've offered him a hot drink. He must be relaxing on a soft, comfortable couch. There must be people who must be attending to him. He must be having such a good time. And then somebody puts flowers in his hands and is offering those flowers to, and as he's doing that, his hand is still shivering. And although he's offering the flowers at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, he's thinking of how Suvritta must be so warm right now. And he's in the middle of the crowd. That is when he notices that he's all drenched. And is feeling so uncomfortable in that situation. Have you ever experienced being drenched? And you reach your home? If you've ever experienced that, the first thing you want to do is go into the shower, take off those wet clothes, have a hot shower, put on some dry clothes on, have a hot drink immediately, relax. It's as if you're back from hell. And that is what was going through Richter's mind. And then he was chanting the holy names of the Lord, but his mind was simply reflecting on how comfortable his brother Suvritta must be. And then he started lamenting. Why didn't I listen to my brother? I would also have been comfortable right now. Here I'm all drenched, dripping water, my clothes are all wet. I do not even have a set of dry clothes to change into. And people they're doing their own, nobody's even noticing him. He feels really left out. And he's lamenting, oh, I'm so miserable here. My brother Suvritta must be so happy there. Now Chandali Rishi immediately abruptly stops and he starts describing what Suvritta is doing at the brothel. Suvritta has had a change of clothes and he's kind of now feeling a little comfortable. And Suvritta is thinking, how fortunate is my brother Vritta. Right now he's at the temple of Lord Krishna. With his very eyes, he must be seeing the beautiful form of Krishna. And what are my eyes looking at? What is the vision that they are having? This inauspicious place. How different are my eyes from the eyes of the plumes of a peacock? So Vritta must be offering his head at the lotus feet of Krishna, offering his obeisances. He must be touching the floor at the lotus feet of Krishna. And here my head is on this couch. What is the use of placing one's head on a couch when one's head could be at the lotus feet of Krishna? So Vritta must be hearing the wonderful chant of Krishna's holy names. My ears are no better than holes in the ground. With his mouth, he must be speaking Krishna's glories. He must be associating with devotees. And here, I have no good association at all. So Vritta must have been a very pious person in his previous lifetimes. He must have had so many pious credits. And I must have been a very sinful person in my previous lifetimes. Therefore, today on the day of Janmashtami, so Vritta is at the temple of Lord Krishna, and I am here in this unholy place. We were both born of the same father. We received the same instructions. We got the same sanskaras. But today, Vritta is at the temple of Lord Krishna, and I am here. My brother is so fortunate. And as he was thinking like this, he started crying, and tears of lamentation started falling down his cheeks, rolling down his cheeks. Why did not I listen to Vritta and go on to the temple? So both the brothers spent their night lamenting. The next morning, the storm was gone. The sun was out. Everything was peaceful. The two brothers were very eager to meet up with each other. So they walked out onto the road and they walked towards each other so that they could meet up with each other. And finally they met each other, and seeing each other, they were so happy. They ran and they embraced each other. And this is where the Puranas really become abrupt. They embraced each other, and at that moment a bolt of lightning hit them. Both of them were simultaneously hit by one bolt of lightning, and they died. The reason I'm again and again repeating that this is a Purana is because after the stories, people ask really awkward questions. So this is from the Puranas. Only the essential aspects of the story have been explained. They died. So physically they were dead. In their subtle bodies, they had visitors. They had two groups of visitors. One had come along with an airplane. It was called Vaikuntha Airways. The other had come along with an ass. And one had to ride on that ass and go to the court of Yamaraj, the god of justice. So, the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas. So there were two Vishnudutas and three Yamadutas that had come. I'm being very specific because Chandelier Rishi is specific. It seems the Yamadutas always come in more numbers. The Vishnudutas are really capable gentlemen. Just two of them is sufficient. Yeah. So there were two Yamadutas and three Vishnudutas. So Some of you are awake. So there were 3 Yamadutas and 2 Vishnudutas. Thank you very much. So Surita is like, he knows what is going to happen. Well, yesterday night I was not in the best of places. So it's like, okay, I'm ready. They're matter of fact people, right? So the Vishnudutas, they come and they pick up Suvrita and put him on Vaikuntha Airways. And the Yamadutas pick up Vritta. Suvrita becomes angry. He's very agitated. This is injustice. I never expected this of great personalities like yourselves. You perfectly know what is right, what is wrong, and right from wrong. I mean, were you not at a post looking at the CCTVs? What was happening in this world? You know, Yamadutas, right? You're supposed to be 24/7 on the job. I am the person who's supposed to be going with you because I spent the entire night at the brothel. I could have gone onto the temple of Lord Krishna, I did not. And my brother Vritta, he made that arduous journey and he reached the temple of Lord Krishna. He spent the entire night of Janmashtami in the temple of Lord Krishna and you're taking him to the court of Yamaraj. How is that justice? Now, what advice would anyone of us give Suvrita? A wise man knows when to keep one's mouth shut, right? I mean, come on, man. Take your seat on the Vaikuntha Airways. Go to Vaikuntha, file a petition from there. Why do you reject your benefits that come free from the government? Who does that? Therefore I said this is a Puranic story. There's a lesson in it, always. Yes? So Vritta wasn't happy with the situation at all. And then when he challenged the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, the Yamadutas smiled and the Vishnudutas explained to him. It is very important what activities you are involved in and what are the circumstances which make you act in a particular way. It's very important. However, much more important is what is your mind associating with it. Now, if you are in a good situation and if you are involved in good activities and your mind is also associated with auspiciousness, well, you get 100 out of 100. Full credits. That's the best thing to do. However, if you are in unfavorable circumstances and you are engaged in unfavorable activities, if your mind is associated with auspiciousness, still you get 100 out of 100. If you are in very favorable circumstances and you are engaged in very favorable activities, however, if your mind is associated with inauspiciousness, you gain nothing. Not even zero. Nothing. That's the word. And because when you gain zero, you could at least trade it for something. Even a beggar is proud of one's borrowed pennies. So one gains nothing. So Chandali Rishi is explaining always, ahuhu. Every moment one has to work with all these four resources. The self, the mind, the intelligence and the senses. Every given moment of time, one must train the mind to associate with that which is auspicious. Because if one associates the mind with auspiciousness, one gains one's desired. The operative word is desired. One gains one's desired result, one's desired goal. However, if the mind is associated with inauspiciousness, one gains nothing. Forgive me for being repetitive. So that's a simple lesson. That's the end of the story. Almost. Do you think that was a good story?
Yes.
You don't. How dare you say no? Did you ever think that was an option? Yes. And I kind of made it very concise. If you actually go through the story, it's a little more elaborate. The reason I made it concise is because I forgot the details. Or rather, we are in Kali Yuga, isn't it? So short and sweet. How do we understand this practically? So for some practical understanding, we are now going to have some fun games. You just have to keep sitting, you don't have to stand up. The fun games that we are going to have are actually mind games. So that's a hint. And everyone has to participate. And the one and only rule is that this will be in the form of questions and answers. You obviously have to give the answers. I'm going to ask questions. And everyone has to answer in chorus. So please don't be decent enough and raise your hands and wait for me to call upon you. You can be indecent if you want. In the sense, shout out loud. Everyone has the opportunity to just shout out your answers. Okay? Is that alright? That is the only rules for this mind games that we are going to have. So I am going to speak out a word and you have to spell it out. Right? Everyone's got this? Everyone's got this? Sure?
Yes.
So what do they have to do? Spell out the word. Individually? In chorus. But obviously, everyone has to do it. You cannot wait for the other person. Mere bhi haath par bhi bol. Yes? So you cannot like in India, sometimes an entire family comes in front of the deities and they have to offer some donation in the hundi, the donation box. Beta, you put. And we are watching this and we're like, okay, alright. So I approached one gentleman like that and was encouraging his son to put the donation that obviously came out of the father's wallet. Son, you put this in the donation box. And I told him, did you realize that whatever donation you put in the donation box, the credit for that only goes to the person who actually puts the donation in the donation box? No one else gets the credit for it. I thought it was on behalf of all of us. That's how the scriptures say. Yeah, that's what they state, the scriptures. So the person actually handing over the donation gets the benefit. So next time you are waiting and you ask someone in front of you, Mera bhi dal do, well, you're blessing that person to have more pious credits. And you gain. Okay. So everyone has to participate, alright? And in chorus. Okay? So let's begin. If you don't understand a word, doesn't matter, do your best. I mean, it's just my accent, okay? And this is going to be rapid fire. Okay, this is going to be rapid fire, so fast. Start. No, sorry. Start now. Okay? Coast. Post. Roast. Toast. Most. Okay. That was fun, wasn't it? Did anyone make a mistake? Most. Did anyone? Was it a little difficult for a moment? Did you have to think a bit? Did you have to think a bit? Or did it come out spontaneously? I said most and you're like, M-O-S-T. Or you were like, okay. Did you have to think a bit? For a split second. Yes. Yeah, coast, most, toast, roast, all of them rhyme. Most also rhymes. So why didn't you go for that which would have been a mistake? Why didn't you go for that? Why didn't you say M-O-A-S-T?
I think you're familiar with the word.
You're familiar with the word, right? But how do you know that it should not be M-O-A-S-T?
Because we learned.
You learned that. You learned that the spelling of most is M-O-S-T. Although roast, toast, coast, boast, and find out a few more words like that. They do have an A in there. They have an A?
Yes.
Right. Since you have trained yourself, you know right from wrong. You decided, every single person here, of their own desire. You took the decision to delete the A from most. Although, for a moment, there was a thought. For a split second, there was a thought. Okay, here's a trick. The mind said that. So you see, train the mind to associate with that which is correct, that which is auspicious. And not to associate with that which is inauspicious. So is that a practical understanding of the principle that Chandelier Rishi has given? Makes it more practical now? You ready for another one? Okay?
Yeah.
So now we realize that, we are good people, we can associate with auspicious and we give up the inauspicious, isn't it? Yeah, gives us some confidence. Let's do it again. Okay, everyone's ready for this? Okay. Coast. Boast. Roast. Most. Toast. What do you put in a toaster?
Bread.
Did for a moment the word toast come in your mind?
Yes.
What do you put in a toaster? Because obviously, toast is also connected to the toaster, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And since we are on a roll here with rhythms and rhymes, rhyming words, for a moment, some of us could have thought toast in a toaster.
Toast can also be sweet.
Speech, offering a toast.
Yes.
Yeah? Now let's analyze this. You put bread in a toaster, what do you get?
Toast.
A toast. You put a toast in a toaster, what do you have? Nothing. A lot of effort, and what do you have? Nothing. So practical enough?
Yes.
What does Chandelier Rishi say? Associate the mind with? Because what do you get? Your desired goal or results. associate with the mind with inauspiciousness, what do you get? Nothing. Okay? One more?
Yeah.
Sure?
Right.
Okay. This is about collection of things, and amongst them, one of the articles is the most pure. Okay? The most pure of a particular collection of things, alright? Like, for example, amongst all the colors, which is the most pure? White, basically. Because white does not have any blemishes in it. Isn't it? So you understand that? Let's do it again. Cloth. All the different kinds of cloth. Which is the most pure?
White.
No, cloth.
Silk.
Cotton
or silk.
Silk. Because most of you do not know about silk.
Silk.
If you have not heard, silk is the most pure. It never gets dirty.
Dirty.
The silk is the only cloth that even if it's not washed, you could still use it to serve the deities on the altar. Alright?
Yes.
So, you ready? Alright. Which is the purest of all colors?
White.
Purest of all cloth? Silk. What does a cow drink? That was a good one, wasn't it? That was a good one. I don't have a caller here. What does a cow drink? Water. Water. Isn't it? Where did milk come from? How does a cow drink milk? And the cow would offer the milk to the calf, isn't it? The calf drinks milk, not the cow. She offers the milk to the humans. Humans drink milk, cow's milk, not the cow. So what does a cow drink?
Water.
Associate the mind with and not with, because if the cow starts drinking milk, we get calf gets nothing. So is that alright? Does that sink in, the message? Yes. Alright. So now we kind of understand what we are working with, the mind, and how we should work with the mind. The mind should be used to associate with auspicious thoughts and not associate with inauspicious thoughts. Shamil Rishi is in fine print stating, or reading between the lines, is stating that if one makes efforts to associate the mind with auspicious things, then one will be benefited. However, if one lets the mind be idle, naturally the mind will gravitate towards inauspicious thoughts. And then one gains nothing. In the present age, the only thing that is auspicious is the holy names of Krishna. Everything else has some kind of fault in it. It is ridden with faults. Every other object, every other path, every other process is ridden with faults, defects. The only thing that works is Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Gateva. Only the holy names of Krishna. And it is the holy names of Krishna that brings about auspiciousness. It is so essential in the present age of Kali Yuga that one associates the mind with the holy names of Krishna. Yes? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So remember the story that we began with? The banana peel. To conclude, we have to try and do something about our existence right now, every single moment for the rest of our lives. Bhoktite ahur manishina. Yes? And we have to do it consciously, with conscious efforts. Otherwise, do you know what state of existence most of us are in? If you're not careful. Passion, ignorance. Okay. This is the final joke of the day. Maybe it's one of those few jokes actually. The brain has two hemispheres to two halves, right? Is it right?
Yes.
Or is it left? So there's the right half and the left half. Okay? Okay, so this is how somebody has described the brains, every single person's existence of the brain to be in. Okay? Our brain is as follows. On the right side, or let's say on the left side, there is nothing right. And on the right side, there is nothing. Okay, let's do it again. How's the existence of the brain? On the left side, there is nothing right. So you get the pun in it?
Yeah.
There's no right side of the brain in the left, right? But the pun is, there's nothing right. And on the right side, there is nothing. So on the left side, kuch sahi nahi hai. There's nothing right. And on the right side, kuch hai hi nahi hai. There's nothing left. Okay. Did everyone get this or no?
Yeah.
Blink. Did everyone get this?
Yes.
So basically, obviously the right side of the brain will not have anything that is on the left side of the brain, isn't it? The left side of the brain will not have anything that is on the right side of the brain. So here's the pun. On the left side, there is nothing right. And on the right side, there is nothing left. We need to do something about existence really quick. Isn't it? So let's think about all that is auspicious and let us give up inauspicious thoughts. And there's nothing as auspicious as the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna.